Hey guys, Matt Wilson here with a late afternoon, early evening video, my first actually. So I moved over to where the light is different. And I'm going to investigate the 70s career, well, starting in 69 actually, of Nazz and Todd Rundgren and Utopia actually. So I'm pretty sure I got everything here for you. Let's start with the complete Nazz. This is a kind of a nifty little 3-disc box set containing the 3 Nazz albums. It is Nazz and not the Nazz, although when you hear, like there's a live cut on one of these albums, I can't remember where the guy clearly says, "We're the Nazz," you know, whatever, from Philadelphia. Anyways, you don't need the article. Nazz, oh, this is the booklet, folks. My bad. There we go. Nazz, there's their first album. And their best. 1969. These guys were very, Yardbirds influenced, psychedelic, a rock band. Open My Eyes is the classic cut. It's the first song on the album. It is the best thing that they ever did. It's a epic, garage rock number. Psych number, whatever you want to call it. And then Hello It's Me is also on here. Now, Hello It's Me, this is the original version, which did chart, by the way, not very well on the Billboard chart. I don't think it made the top 100, but don't take my word for it. Look these things up for yourself, which, of course, Todd later re-recorded on the Something Anything album to much better effect, but I still like this version. As far as the rest of the album, it's not bad. Keep in mind, one would assume that, since Todd was writing most of the material, he'd be the lead singer. He's not. What was that guy's name? Stukely Antoni or something like that, who has a voice that's kind of similar to Todd's and has claimed in the past that he thinks Todd patterned his vocal mannerisms on, Antoni's voice, but I don't know, folks. It's not for me to decide. I like the album. It's not a classic, but it's certainly good. And I highly recommend this little box. I mean, last time I checked, it wasn't out of print or anything. It wasn't expensive. Nazz is their second album. Yeah, I mean, again, just tons of bonus tracks. This album, I'm going to say no, it's not quite as good as the first album, though it's not bad. They're kind of opening up their palette here. There's more ballads and, experimental stuff. But when the album didn't do that well, the band all but broke up. And that's when, in 71, after Todd had already started his solo career, actually he started in 1970, the same year as this, we got, Nazz the third or Nazz 3, whatever you want to call it. This, I think, if memory serves, you guys know how I am about preparing for these videos. I think this is mostly just, or maybe it's entirely stuff that was recorded during the sessions for Nazz. Again, there's decent stuff on here. If you're not expecting too much from this album, then in some ways it's as good as this. Now, kudos to the guys who think that this is their best album. Obviously, they're going to disagree with me, but I think, one more time, Nazz is their best album, followed by this, and then this. So it's, it's the law of diminishing returns, but none of these albums are bad. I like them all. And for what you're paying for this set, I recommend it. Okay, we're going into Todd's solo career proper now. This is a nice little collection that I have as well. This is, these are his 2 albums with, I think this was a band called Runt at the time, which now we've just kind of, come to see these as solo Todd Rundgren albums. But Runt is the first one, right? And then the Ballad of Todd Rundgren is the second one. This is from what I call his Laura Nyro phase. I think he was dating her at the time, and his kind of piano-based material is kind of in the vein of a Laura song. Runt is pretty good. It's certainly it's as good as the third Nazz album. It's as good as the second Nazz album too. It's got his first hit. Well, his first hit outside of Open My Eyes. And We Got to Get You a Woman. Great early, Rundgren song. You hear it on the radio sometimes. But I gotta say, I'm definitely more of a fan of The Ballad of Todd Rundgren. That's his first really satisfying album to me. It's better, I think, than the first Nazz album. His songs are coming along nicely. You're starting to see you always saw the variety in styles of his music, the diversity, the dynamics in his music. But I first really began to notice it on Ballad of Todd Rundgren. It's bad that they don't have in this booklet more bigger. Oh, they do. Okay, so that's Runt. Okay. Or it's a Todd Rundgren album called Runt, but I think there was a band called Runt. Again, guys, look it up. And that's Ballad of Todd Rundgren, which I think is his first really successful album. It gets the matte seal of approval, which I know you're all looking for. All right. And then he jumps from being a, really interesting cult artist to a freaking genius. Something anything. If this isn't most Rundgren fans' favorite album of his, then it was a true star. But this is a double album. His first one, Todd, would be a double album in 1974. I'm telling you that now in case I forget to say it then. 90% of what's on here is great. This is the mobility version. I actually gave this to my ex-wife when we divorced because she used to play this all the time. And just the other day, in preparation for this video, I asked her if I could borrow it. She goes, "I never play that album. You can have it." So, okay, and I hadn't played this album in like 10 years, right? So, yeah, I love this. It's got his two biggest hits, I Saw the Light, and of course the remake of Hello to Me. But I mean, so many songs on here are good. Again, guys, I'm always conscious of time. In the future, I will do deep dives into albums where I will go over every single album, right? But every single song on an album. But until then, I'm just, talking in terms of these broad swaths for this record. Virtually everything on here is great. I love it. 5-star all the way. Almost as good, but more weird, and that's what makes it more appealing to some people, is a Wizard True Star. I don't have any kind of deluxe version of this album. This is just the old Rhino CD. There's not even any bonus tracks. The best songs on here are as good as, like I said, 90% of Something Anything. There's cover versions though, like the I'm So Proud, Ooh Baby Baby, La La Means I Love You, Cool Jerk. But it's Todd's original material which you're looking for. And if you're like a newbie to Todd Rundgren, start with these two. All right? If these don't do it for you, you're probably not going to be a Todd Rundgren fan. Wizard of True Star, another classic. 1973, Something Anything was 72. I don't know if I said that. Okay. Here's 74. He did two albums that year. Well, one with Utopia. Todd, this is another double record. All right. I don't think there's any bonus tracks on this one either. Nope. Just a lot of songs on here. Again, he's very experimental on this record. He's got traditional sounding Todd Rundgren songs. He's got things that are kind of, off the beaten path. He's got melodic stuff. He's got rockin' stuff. He's got, stuff that he's, by this point, well before this, he's a total studio guy. He's just recording these things probably into all hours of the night, like you figure Zappa did or like Stevie Wonder did. In fact, Todd Rundgren was one of those guys who could play everything. Not that he did too often. I know he does it on Herman of Meek Hollow, I think. But he could do, he could sing, he could play guitar, he could do keyboards, and so he would. I mean, he could lay down the basic structure of the song to where that only the bass player or the drummer, you know, need to add their stuff on. Plenty of great stuff on Todd, but just be prepared. It's a little weird. You know, it kind of like was a true star, but not as successful as that album. Don't make this one of the first 2 or 3 albums of his you buy, but it's certainly satisfying. I like it. And you know how I'm big on in these videos on saying, if they would taken the best tracks off of these 2 albums and just made 1 album, well, here's the album he made with his band, Utopia, in '74. If I could have taken the best songs from Todd and the best songs from Todd Rundgren's Utopia, boy, that would be another 5-star album, like Something Anything or Was the True Star. Utopia is like his. This is another one of those Rhino discs. Yeah, without bonus tracks. This is a long record. When you look it up online, how long, I think this is like over an hour long, you know, which always, you know, had issues with the original vinyl where it wouldn't sound as good, but those don't affect the CD. The Utopia theme, which is over 14 minutes, is like, that's some of my favorite Rundgren music. He's got these, you know, American guys, and he's trying to make a prog record. I don't know whether Todd would have used those words. I haven't really read too many interviews with Todd Rundgren, but it sounds prog to me. I mean, I certainly grew up thinking that this was a prog album. There's another track on side. Oh God, this is a long record. Side 2, which is 30. It's over 30 minutes long. The Icon, but it's good. You know, I mean, it meanders a bit as you would expect, but like with a lot of Rundgren records in the 70s, if not all of them, the more you play it, the more you like it. You know, it's not instantly accessible, but it does reward repeated listenings. So this was his 1974 output. Enjoy them both. Okay, 75 is Initiation. Not an album I spent a lot of time with in the past. I mean, this Japanese, what do you call these things? SHM CD, whatever. This was the first time I ever actually owned the album, but it's good. I mean, I was happy with it when I got it. Side 2 is a bit. This is another one of those long albums, which affected the original vinyl, the sound quality of it, but it's, you know, fine on CD. I like side 1. Side 2 is a bit tedious. Treatise on cosmic fire. Yeah, well, anyways, maybe I just haven't spent enough time with that. It's not even a track, is it? It's like, it's multiple tracks, but it's just long. It's kind of like Icon, I guess, you know, from the previous Utopia album. But I would recommend this record just for side 1 alone. And also in 75, the second Utopia album. So he's dividing his time between his solo stuff and, you know, Utopia stuff. This is a live album. This is another live, I think it's called. Yeah, that's another one of those Japanese discs. Mostly new stuff on here. I think it's really good. This is one of those albums I like to recommend to you guys because I think that it doesn't really have any kind of reputation. I've never heard anyone talk this album up, big this album up, but I think it's really good. Okay, not as good as Todd Rundgren's Utopia, but still I think one of the better Utopia albums, and it's still pretty proggy. All right, so this is live, mostly new stuff, some stuff. I mean, I think Heavy Metal Kids is on side 2, but wow, you know, check that one out. Okay, 76. I think 76, this is his only record. Yeah. It's got a crack in there. What's it called again? Faithful. Faithful is another one of those albums. These are all Rhino albums. No, I mean CDs, no bonus tracks. Faithful is another one of those albums where it's 2 distinct sides. Side 1, he's just pretty faithfully recreating a bunch of classic 60s 45s. He's got the Yardbirds, Happening 10 Years Time Ago, Beach Boys, Good Vibrations. That was actually a top 40 hit, I think. Rain by the Beatles, Most Likely You Go Your Way by Dylan. If 6 Was 9, Hendrix, and then another Beatles song, Strawberry Fields Forever. You know, nice versions of those songs, but he adheres to the original arrangements enough so that I don't think that there's too much to recommend these versions. You know, certainly not over the originals. But side 2 is nice. Side 2 of this album, Faithful, is as good as side 1 of Initiation. Black and White, Love of the Common Man, When I Pray, Cliché, The Verb, Boogies, Hamburger Hell. Most of those songs are pretty good. So this, like Initiation, these albums are worth owning. These 2 Todd Rundgren albums, yeah, they're not Utopia records, are worth owning simply for the better sides. Side 1 on here, side 2 on here. Okay. Moving along nicely, not taking too long. 77, I want to say, is this his only album from 77? This is 78, right? No, 2 albums in 77. God, he really was a workhorse, wasn't he? And he did 2 Utopia albums in 77. Might as well show them at the same time. Raw, which is, I don't think is as successful as Oops, Wrong Planet, which is, this is the Mo-Fi version. So Raw first. I think Raw is another long album, but not incredibly long the way that the other 2 I mentioned earlier were. This is fairly good. I mean, looking at these songs, this is not an album. This is kind of like Initiation, where I haven't spent a lot of time listening to this record. I want to say again, for the 3rd LP in a row, I like about half of this. It's still very proggy, especially for 77 when prog was starting to die off. He's still really trying, to pursue his muse, or is it the band's muse? I don't know, but it's not great, but I certainly like it enough to pull it out every year or 2 and play it. Better, and probably because I've had it way longer, is Oops, Wrong Planet. This is the only version of this album I've ever owned. No bonus cuts on there. He's playing guitar on here. Some of these songs rock, but it's also, not quite probably as proggy as Raw. It even has Love Is the Answer, which was a big hit a couple of years later for, what was it, England Dan and John Ford Coley or somebody? It was a soft rock song, using much the same arrangement as Utopia does, but I think this is the better version, of course. I mean, I would say that, right? So, one of Utopia's better albums, but so far I like them all. Raw might be the weakest one, but this is a strong one. Okay, this is 78 now. 2 albums again in 78. This is another one of my favorites, Herman of Meek Hollow. I think cut for cut, this is one of his best. I don't know if you can even see that. Well, anyways, you can always look it up. Very strong material on here. Looking out. I'm looking over the cuts. Oh, I forgot this had the hit, Can We Still Be Friends, right? Again, not going to go over all the songs with you, but this is another. By this point, Todd's not going to be showing you too much that's new. You know what he sounds like. You know what he's capable of. This is the one I mentioned earlier where he's playing all the stuff, right? I hope I got that right. Anyways, there's weird stuff, there's experimental stuff, there's pop stuff that still sounds a bit proggy, even though this is not a Utopia record. It's another basically real good Todd Rundgren album, and probably the best that he had made under his own name since Todd in 1974. All right? Okay. Also, real good, I'm always trying to promote the idea of live albums to you guys, is Back to the Bars. Back to the Bars function, there was no Todd Rundgren's greatest hits or anything in the 70s, so this kind of functioned as the closest thing as almost any greatest hits album does, where there's not that much new material. It's recorded pretty well. He's even got some of the guys on Utopia, I think past and present, on this album, right? So I don't know if I like it as much as that another live Utopia record, simply because there was all that new material there. But if you just want a good collection of, you know, some of Todd's better known songs from this time period, this is it. Back to the Bars. Okay. God, we're only down to one more. Oh my God, this is gonna be a short video. Okay, this is the last Utopia album of this time period. God, I hope it's 79 and not 80. If it is 80, I'll have to change the title to Todd, Rundgren and Utopia to 1980. This is fairly good. Again, now, he's not doing anything new. I'm not going to say, what's this one called again? Yeah, Adventures in Utopia. I'm not going to say this is one of his best ones, but it might be more consistent than Raw. All right? Keeping in mind, I have not spent a whole lot of time with either one of these two albums. I'd probably rather hear Back to the Bars and certainly Hermit of Mink Hollow than this, but it's not bad. Now, in the 80s, Todd continued, well, he's making records until not that long ago. I don't think that he had the reputation of the consistency that he did in the 70s. He's always been experimental and, you know, having lots of off the beaten path kind of tracks. He does not stick with one style. And yet, if you view his output in total, it's all Todd Rundgren. You know, if you have a handful of Rundgren records and some Utopia albums, you know what he's capable of, and he doesn't disappoint. All right, so great artist. One of those one-man bands, like Stevie Wonder was, I guess, at the same time, like Prince would be in the 80s. And I will do videos on, in fact, Stevie Wonder is going to be coming up soon. Need to do more African-American artists anyway. You don't hear Todd Rundgren too much on the radio. He did have a handful of hits, but he's got other songs on these albums that are every bit as good as his hits. You know, so he's one of those guys where his discography will reward a deep dive. All right, so Wilson signing off. Hasta la vista.